Welcome to the PreSnap Podcast, presented by LineStar. All things fantasy football with a sprinkle of sports betting. Alongside Tyler Weeman, I'm Shannon Somerville. We are getting you ready for Monday Night Football Week 8. It's the Cincinnati Bengals at the Cleveland Browns in a Halloween game. Something you might not know, the Bengals actually haven't won a Halloween game since 1976. So,
oh boy,
looking to put some ghosts to rest in this one. Now, the Bengals have been doing good lately. They've won 4 of their last 5. Meanwhile, the Cleveland Browns have not been looking good. They've lost 4 straight. However, 3 of those games they lost by a score or less. So sometimes some heartbreaking losses there. Either way, it's a pivotal AFC North game. If the Bengals win this one, they go into a tie for first with the Ravens for control of the AFC North. What do you make of this matchup for Monday Night Football?
It's an interesting one. It will be even more interesting without Chase to see the differences that Bengals bring on offense.
You mentioned Jamar Chase out in this one with a hip injury. So let's just dive right into some of these injuries for today. We're getting our information from SixScore.com, the pro football docs there. Make sure you check out SixScore.com before placing any bets or playing daily fantasy. Got to make sure you know who's in and who's out. Today, for our injury report, looking at the Bengals defense, SixScore of 83.4. You've got cornerback Eli Apple is doubtful with a hamstring injury. Defensive tackle DJ Reader has been on the IR with a knee injury. On the Cleveland Browns offense, SixScore of 84.3. You've got some injuries on the offensive line. Nick Harris out on the injured reserve, and then offensive lineman Wyatt Teller also out with a calf injury. And a big loss for the Browns offense is going to be David Njoku, who is out with an ankle injury. So losing their tight end there puts them at a bit of a disadvantage in this one. Tyler, anything there that jumps out to you from that perspective?
No, nothing huge. I mean, Eli Apple likely doesn't play, so obviously it helps the the Browns receivers a little bit. But no biggie.
A big one for the Bengals offense. Jamar Chase is out with a hip injury in this one. They still have a SixScore of 90.4. We know they've got a lot of weapons on offense. Looking at the Browns defense, well, they're pretty banged up. Very much so. Cornerbacks Greg Newsome and Greedy Williams are expected to be back in this one. They've been dealing with some injuries. You do have cornerback Denzel Ward out with a concussion still. That is a huge blow there. Defensive end Jadeveon Clowney was nursing an ankle injury. He is healthy and should play this game, but he is not at full strength according to the pro football docs, SixScore.com. Linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is questionable with a knee issue, and middle linebacker Anthony Walker quad tear out for the season. It's a lot of injuries on this Browns defense going up against Joe Burrow and a pretty dynamic offense. What do you make of that?
Yeah, Bengals obviously huge loss without Jamar Chase, but with all these Browns injuries, I don't think it's going to really affect them too much.
It almost kind of evens itself out a little bit. So
yeah.
Make sure to check out SixScore.com. That's where we're getting our info to check out all the injuries and see where the advantages are and if we can find some edge in terms of injuries. It's just a big part of the game, so check it out, SixScore.com. Now let's get into our daily fantasy projections for today on this Monday Night Football Halloween game. Let's first look at the Cincinnati Bengals. We'll first take a look at the Tiger King himself, quarterback Joe Burrow, who coming off his best game of the season, 481 yards, 3 touchdowns versus Atlanta. Going up against this Cleveland defense, not only are they banged up, but even still, they have not been playing well this year, 28th in passing DVOA this season. What do you make of Burrow's matchup today? Yeah,
Burrow's in a good matchup here. Without Jamar Chase, I'm really not too worried about him. He's going to do fine. And he's been exceptional since Cincinnati changed their scheme a little bit. He's in shotgun a lot more, and he's just really being able to pick apart the mismatches, which there's going to be plenty, even without Jamar Chase. He has a ton of weapons.
Speaking of one of those weapons, wide receiver T. Higgins has had over 90 yards in 3 of the last 4 games, and that was with Jamar Chase in the lineup, and now he'll see far more targets today. He'll be Joe Burrow's #1 target today on the field, and going up against that Cleveland Browns secondary, they are ranked 28th in pass DVOA. T. Higgins in a good spot today. What do you think?
Higgins is in a great spot without Chase. He is underpriced on both DraftKings and FanDuel, making his ownership really high, especially in that captain MVP spot. For that spot, I think he is going a little high, too high owned as a captain or MVP. Sure. He obviously is a great play, but I think I'd probably rather put him in the flex just because of his ownership at captain.
Another wide receiver, Tyler Boyd, has had games where he absolutely goes off, including last week where he had 155 yards against the Falcons and a touchdown. And going up again, once again, we're picking on this Cleveland secondary. The defense, 29th in pass DVOA versus opposing team's wide receiver 2. That's the spot Boyd will move into today. But, man, these numbers, he's looking like a wide receiver 1 with some of the numbers he's been putting up this season.
Yeah, I really like pivoting to Boyd over Higgins for maybe a captain spot or even a flex if you want to go there. But Boyd is a really solid wide receiver. He is the WR2 for this team, but he has very similar upside to Higgins. So you're not losing upside by going to Boyd over Higgins. It just won't happen quite as frequently that he outpaces Higgins. But I like both these guys. I really do like Boyd tonight.
In terms of the running back situation, Joe Mixon's had a pretty lackluster start to the season, averaging just 3.3 yards per carry. That's the lowest of his career. And just 405 rushing yards, which ranks 23rd among all running backs. However, he does get a favorable matchup today, although we do have Clowney back in the mix and everything like that. So what do you make of Mixon's matchup? Could it be kind of a bounce-back game for him?
It totally could be a bounce-back game. One is without Chase, there may be a little more volume there. We know Mixon is going to he's going to get the workload. And Cleveland ranks 31st, allowing 1.2 rushing TDs per game. And they rank 28th, allowing 119 rushing yards per game. So Mixon's in a great spot. And then to go along with all that, he leads this entire game over the last 4 weeks with red zone opportunities. He has 18 attempts between targets and rushes inside the red zone.
An interesting note here for Joe Mixon. There is one person in particular who will be rooting hard for Joe Mixon today. Not you, Tyler. It's one Indiana bettor who will complete a 17-leg parlay that will pay out $124,000, $333.46. If Joe Mixon gets more than 63.5 rushing yards.
Wow.
It's a lot of money.
That is a lot.
Riding on this Joe Mixon game
That is
tonight.
a lot. I think Mixon absolutely could do that.
Yeah.
However, if I'm that guy, I am trying to hedge the heck out of that.
Well, we'll have to keep an eye on that prop for sure.
Yeah.
Let's take a look now at the Cleveland Browns and some players we're looking at from a fantasy perspective. Looking at quarterback Jacoby Brissett. Yeah, he struggled lately. 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions over the past 4. And going up against the Cincinnati defense, that's pretty good. They rank 5th in DVOA, 7th in pass DVOA, and the defense hasn't allowed an opposing quarterback more than 200 passing yards the last 4 games. They've kind of found their stride on defense, and that doesn't bode well for Brissett. But given, I'm guessing people will be more on Burrow, is there some leverage there? There
is some leverage there, but I mean, he's the quarterback, so we have to talk about him here, and that's the whole reason we're talking about him. If Cleveland wins, it's on the back of Chubb. If they lose, it's on the back of Brissett. And then his price is pretty high for what his ceiling is, so I absolutely probably would not be using him in a captain or MVP spot. Flex spot is fine, but I really don't love his outlook for tonight.
Speaking of, you talked about the rushing game. Everything's going to go through Nick Chubb tonight for a good reason. 106 yards per game. That ranks 2nd in the NFL. However, going up against a Cincinnati defense that has not allowed an opposing rusher more than 100 yards this season, how do you see Chubb's matchup for tonight?
I really like Chubb tonight. Like I said, if the Browns stay in this game, if they win this game, it's going to be on the back of Nick Chubb. So you have to like that. The one thing I will say, though, is for Chubb to be in the optimal lineup, he will likely need to score twice. Just because he doesn't catch any passes on DraftKings, you'll it's really hard for him to be optimal unless he has a couple touchdowns. So that is for DraftKings. I think for FanDuel, you can still use him just because of the scoring being a little bit different. But I think this is a great spot for him. And versus Cincinnati at home, he averages 100 yards and 0.5 touchdowns per game. So
another interesting running back situation here is Kareem Hunt, who's been the topic of a lot of chatter in terms of trade rumors. We did see double-digit carries for him to start out the season, the first 5 weeks of the season, and then the past two, just how many carries? 2 carries, just 9 carries, 16 yards the past 2 games. So it's really kind of dropped off. What do you make of this play?
Yeah, I would be slightly concerned that maybe that reduced role is because they really are trying to trade him. They don't want him to be hurt. But we can't look too much into that. He does have a solid role in this team. We've seen it over the years. And over the last 4 weeks, he has 10 red zone attempts, which on his team, it's only behind Chubb, who Chubb only has 13. So it's not like Chubb has a dramatically higher role in the red zone than Hunt does. Hunt is a lot cheaper. There's absolutely a chance that he gets a touchdown or 2 tonight.
Let's look at the wide receivers, and the first one we're looking at is Amari Cooper. 34 passes, 422 yards, 4 touchdowns in 7 games. He's been a productive receiver for them. Cincinnati defense, though, 7th in pass DVOA. What do you make of Amari Cooper's fantasy outlook?
Yeah, I mean, he is the wide receiver 1, and he's also the reason why I don't really love Brissett at the captain. If they have to pass, it's going to be Cooper. They're going to. Right. And so I'd rather have Cooper in the captain than Brissett, as Cooper will score more points off those Brissett passes than Brissett will. But without a doubt, he is the leading wide receiver in this wide receiver core. Like it, don't love it. This Cincinnati defense is just pretty solid against the pass.
What do you make about Harrison Bryant? Interesting one, given that he's only averaged 2.3 targets per game this season. What's going on here? Yeah,
he's only averaged that, but he is the tight end 2 tonight. He is the tight end 1. Harrison Bryant is a legit good tight end in the NFL. He is just behind Njoku. So if you looked at Bryant's Spark scores, they're all really good. He runs a 4.740. He's big. He's fast. He can absolutely do well in this matchup. He is a legit tight end in the NFL. So don't be scared off because he's just a backup.
All right, so let's talk sleepers. I'm guessing he's one of them.
Bryant is absolutely one of them. Another one, we have to look at those Cincinnati wide receivers. So Mike Thomas is likely the wide receiver 3 tonight. Okay. So you should look at him. And then Donovan Peoples-Jones is another.
And then what about the captain MVP spot?
The obvious guys, Higgins, Boyd, Mixon, Chubb. I wouldn't mind Hunt or Bryant also is a little more kind of sleeper low-owned captain plays.
All right. So those are your daily fantasy plays. Remember, all of the information that we are using to talk daily fantasy is available on the LineStar app, linestarapp.com. Now it's time for our touchdown calls of the game. Tyler, who are you going to for your touchdown call on Halloween night in Cleveland?
We are going with Joe Mixon. Mixon leads this game with 18 red zone tries over the last 4 weeks, and I think he's going to have plenty of opportunities to get one tonight.
Okay, I'm going Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins -110. He's got 5 red zone targets, 2 touchdowns on the season. With Jamar Chase out, though, those numbers are going to go up. He's going to be Burrow's top target, and cornerback Denzel Ward's out in this one, so that's much more favorable to those Bengals receivers. I also don't hate Hayden Hurst at +250. Got a little more juice on that one, and I could see him finding the end zone as well in this one.
Ooh.
So, little Halloween treat for you guys.
Another one? Yeah. I do like the Hurst call.
Yeah.
I think inside the red zone, his targets are going to go way up.
Maybe focusing on Higgins and
Chase has had a huge target share within the red zone, and so those targets have to go somewhere now.
Go somewhere, guys.
And I don't think it's all going to go to Higgins.
Right. Let's go to our prop bets now. prop bets for Monday Night Football. Tyler, where are you headed in the prop market for tonight's game?
I'm going with Nick Chubb over 80.5 rushing yards. He is averaging over 100 yards a game. Cincinnati's giving up 82 yards a game on the ground to the running back. Chubb has hit this mark in 7 of 10. I think he hits it again tonight.
I'm going Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins over 74.5 receiving yards, minus 115. He's hit this 3 of the last 4 games, and that was with Jamar Chase in the game. He's out of this game with a hip injury, so that means much more targets for Higgins. And again, Denzel Ward out of this game for the Cleveland defense, and their defense already ranked 28th in pass DVOA. Some real favorable numbers there for T. Higgins to go over 74.5 receiving yards. Let's get to our game picks in this one. Interesting matchup. The Bengals haven't beaten the Cleveland Browns the past 4 times they faced them. What do you think?
Is the elf still on the field?
I literally, it's interesting that you say that because I actually Googled that before the game because that was a big implication in my decision whether or not I wanted to pick the Browns or, that was a factor. I'm not going to lie.
That's funny.
I don't know if it's still on the field.
Yeah.
If it is, that is, it's Halloween. You got the weird elf on your field. It's definitely a game-changing factor right there. So keep an eye on that.
Weird Keebler elf-looking guy. I'm not into it.
You know what we're talking about, by the way? We were talking about the Brownie the elf is the mascot that was painted on the middle of the field. You can look it up. It looks a little bit creepy and
it's totally
perfect
creepy
for Halloween, though.
It is perfect for Halloween.
So, but it hasn't done anything for the Browns.
No,
where they
it
are
hasn't.
Right now, 4 straight losses. Okay, so what are you looking at for tonight?
I think Cincinnati wins this game, but I don't know if they cover the 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5. I think they're going to cover this one. They're going to put all those ghosts to rest. It's Halloween, and first Halloween win for them since 1976. I think it's coming today. Joe Burrow's getting it done. That offense looks pretty, they're humming along.
It looks good.
Tough to
Absolutely.
stop, given the fact that Cleveland's banged up on defense.
Yeah, I just think that Cleveland's going to just slow the game down as much as they possibly
that's
can.
a good point.
And
for
keep
them,
it low scoring.
You could argue that they've got much more to lose in this game. And their season is almost on the line in this one.
Absolutely.
So, they got a few more weeks till Deshaun Watson gets back there, but...
won't save their season now.
The total is 45.5. What are you playing here?
I'm going to go under here.
Under? Yeah, I'm also going under. Cincinnati actually ranks 25th in seconds per play. And then Cleveland, they're going to run the ball.
Yeah.
So I think it will be a lot slower. I know these offenses can put up some points, but I don't think it's happening tonight. Although weirder things have happened in Halloween games.
I agree.
So...
All right.
We have your Halloween show for you. Some tricks, some treats for daily fantasy and prop betting. Good luck to you guys tonight in Monday Night Football, your prop bets and your daily fantasy. We'll see you guys later. Have a good one.
Have a good one, guys. Bye.